Welcome to the Lone Machinist podcast, where we discuss tools, tips, and tales of the trade.
How's it, guys? Jamie from JSpec Engineering here. Since our last episode, unfortunately, John has had to step down as one of the co-hosts, and in his stead, we've got Curt from Confounded Machine. Curt, how are
Hello.
you doing today?
Good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm carrying on.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me along. I always like chatting about all this nerdy stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, figured was looking for someone else who's one man in a shop, and you're the first one that came to mind.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been following you on YouTube for many, many years, and Instructables, if anyone remembers Instructables. I actually popped on
Yeah,
there the
that's
other day.
really.
Yeah, it's still around. So is Hackaday. I popped on there the other day as well.
Oh, Hackaday used to be my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to troll them at work all the time. Used to pop down for lunch and then open Hackaday, open Instructables. And I've been posting on Instructables since like 2007, I think, or 2006.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Back when I was still in school, I was posting like all my stupid projects on there.
Oh, I used to love it and enter the contests, and yeah, it's a cool community. Yeah.
It was a really cool community. I don't know what it's like nowadays. I mean, I dropped off of there a while ago.
Yeah.
But, no, sweet. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is similar to our first episode. We're going to dive into Curt's backstory here so that the audience gets to know him and what he's been up to in the trades. And then we'll hop into the regular topics. So, Curt, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sounds terrific. Yeah. So, yeah, my name is Curt, and I basically now run a company called Confounded Machine. But I started off in a totally different kind of arena. I actually went to school for electronic engineering because I wanted to work with robots. That was like what I wanted to do from when I was little, and there was nothing that like paired with that perfectly. So electronics was the next option. So I went to school for that, and then basically just in my area, like oil industry is huge. So I ended up working for non-destructive testing companies doing electronic repair, and then later down the line doing some kind of mobile laboratory work. And all the while kind of got more and more interested in like just, I don't know, general fabric. Like I was like making stuff. So when MakerBot came out way back in the day with like their cupcake 3D printer and their Thingamatics, like I picked up a Thingamatic way back. I still have it. And like that was just so cool. And then I just kind of kept going down that rabbit hole of like, okay, I can make things in plastic. Now I want to make things in metal. So then I got really into like building your own CNC machines. So I built just a gang of CNC machines out of like skate bearings and MDF. And
You've still got that router, don't you?
It's downstairs now. I'm gonna like decommission. I never use it. It was for the longest time. It was a table in here. It's cool. But yeah, as soon as I started playing with metal, I realized like wood and dust is just like I hate dust. And I was like, oh, machining metal is so precise and everything fits. And like if you buy a piece of metal, it's always the same. Like you don't have to deal with wood grain and nothing moves. And like you can make everything tight toleranced. And like I immediately fell in love. So yeah, I basically just started playing with that, and then one day I bought a tiny lathe. I bought a little tag lathe, just kind of like a benchtop lathe, and 50-pound lathe at the max, and had it in my apartment, and was just turning things. And of course, you have a lathe. The pen is kind of the natural thing to make. So I made one of those, and I had a few people that are like picked it up and like, hey, this is kind of nice. Like I wish I had a nice metal pen. I was like, I wonder if I could sell these. So then I made a few and actually started selling them on Etsy. I don't even remember when I started selling them. And a few folks bought them, and that just kind of from there it just slowly snowballed, and it took me to basically where I am today, where now I sell pens full time out of my garage, which sounds crazy to say.
When did you go full time?
I went full time 2 years ago. Okay. So I basically like. I was working with a company, a super, super cool company. I'm still in contact with them. And I was doing a lot of their CAD CAM CNC work, not on mills though, on big gantry routers, just cutting up sheet goods. I was like 5x10 CNC routers. And I had a lot of leeway at that company. I knew the owner really well. It was kind of a startup. So we all started it together and grew it slowly like that. And that's probably where I learned a lot just about CNC because I was the guy that did everything for that, and I kind of came in with a hobby understanding, so it just kind of grew from that. And just progressed and progressed and progressed, and finally got to a point where I was like, I think if I could put more effort into the pens, I could probably start like switching over. And they were crazy flexible with me. They let me like work part-time for a significant amount of time before I switched over to full-time. So I don't know if people are wanting to go down that rabbit hole of starting your own jig. It's pretty slick if you can find a company that'll work with you.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to go, because you listened to episode 1, I'd had a bit of a falling out with where I used to work, but I had a lot of leeway there, like a hell of a lot of leeway. I built a machine in the last year I was there and then left. But yeah, having a lot of leeway and having a boss that'll let you go part-time, that is the way to go if you're going to break out on your own.
Oh yeah, and like I talked to him I just went there for their Christmas party like a few months ago, and like it's cool to never burn bridges. It's always nice to maintain bridges if you can.
No, definitely. Like, you want to keep those bridges there in case you need them one day. But yeah, unfortunately, where I was, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, well,
I left on good terms. But they took offense to me leaving, so that was their problem.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That happens. Yeah. Oh, cool. And then when did you get the lathe? Was that before or after you went on your own?
When I still had like my regular daytime job, and was working with, I basically had like a hobby size mill that I slowly converted and slowly kept kind of trying to squeak more and more and more and more out of it, and put ball screws on it, and then put stepper motors on it, and had a full CNC control, then kind of switched it over to a kind of a Tormach TTS tool system. It's basically a 440 now, if you want to consider it that way.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
It's like the current. And just like belt drives, and I just put so much, like that thing is worth so much more money than I would ever get back from it, but it also paid for everything else. So I was using that, and I was doing some mill turning on it because I didn't have a reliable lathe, especially when my pen switched from brass to titanium. It really started working out that tiny lathe, and like trying to do production on a machine like that, like, and make money, like not starve, not going to be an easy task. So
I remember actually when you were doing the mill turning, I actually built a similar setup before I bought a lathe to get some prototypes done on the Slowio.
Yeah, it works surprisingly well. Like, and you have like a little gang tool lathe at your disposal. Like, I mean, loading the stock kind of sucks, but it's remarkable how far it can get you.
Yeah, that's, I think people underestimate what these machines are actually capable of a lot of the time. Like, it's simple G code. If you know how to manipulate it, you can get the machine to do pretty much whatever you want. Like, it doesn't have to just cut circles and squares.
Absolutely. And if you're willing to exchange some effort and not make the kind of money you want to make, like, you can get really far with relatively crappy gear. Like, you just gotta, I was thankful I was in a position, just between me and my wife, kind of everything was financially set up where I could take some risks and I could afford to not, make a good amount of money for a while. I could basically just kind of float for a decent amount of time. So it gave me some running room. But if I didn't have that, I'd probably have to have made different decisions.
Well, yeah, I got lucky. My wife got recontracted as I was leaving, so I could also just figure out what I wanted to do for the first 2 years of JSpec engineering, and then she got retrenched, and I had to all of a sudden be profitable. But that is just how life goes. Like, we had 2 months to be profitable, and we had to pay the bills, so we made it happen. And you can get surprisingly far with some seriously janky equipment. Even Big Bertha, my lathe. That thing should not hold the tolerances it holds. It really shouldn't. But to get it to hold those tolerances, you need to really, really baby it. Like, it's not fun to run it because you've got to baby it. But in a pinch, you can get some really, really accurate stuff off of it.
Yeah, well, then that also teaches you, like, if you get a better piece of equipment, now you've gained all that knowledge of like, oh, how to machine something when you're machining on a wet noodle. When you have something that's like rigid, you're like, oh, this is cake, and you can make great parts way easier.
Well, that is why the sister Slowio sits there and gets used to cross drill pins, and that's it, because it's just not worth the effort to run it to try and get good parts when the LK just does it on the first attempt with very little effort. Like
Right.
the Slowio literally has cross-drilled pins and made like 3 parts this year.
Right. Yeah.
This
No, I
last year.
totally get that. Like even when through Instagram, actually, I came across a person that was selling a big hardened lathe, an old lathe, an HNC, so a full CNC lathe, turret lathe, but zero control. So I had to completely retrofit the control, got all the electronics, got all the motors, put new servos into it. But once I was finished, it's like the little tag lathe. I use it for polishing parts. Like I'm not going to machine parts on it just because you have a 3,000 pound lathe that's going to make it's going to run circles around it. Unfortunately, because that's what it's designed to do is just
Yeah,
make parts.
exactly. Speaking of the iron lung, did you ever build a control cabinet for it, like a human interface device
I
with
did.
buttons and things?
No, I have all of it sitting because you sent me that. I love your
Yeah.
little like kind of light and everything. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this one day. I'm gonna do this one day. So I still have all the parts sitting in a box in my
Okay.
basement.
It got finished enough to work, and then that's as far as it ever gets.
That's the problem. Is like when you're trying to do production, it's like, okay, I could stop and fix this, or it's working and I could keep going. Like so, it's
The worst is
temporary
when you
solution.
procrastinate something and then you fix it eventually in like a year's time and realize, shit, I should have done this a year ago
Oh,
because
that's
it
daily.
makes that
Yeah,
much
that's
of a
daily.
difference. Yeah, that is
100%.
so
Yeah.
often it's annoying. I mean, the MCO's been running now for just coming up on 2 years, and it's still got the MDF laser cut panel that I did a test fit with, and then ordered the acrylic and just never got around to cutting and installing.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
problem with a well functioning temporary solution.
yeah, nothing more permanent than a temporary solution.
100%. Yeah, so it's like, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no,
So yeah.
that
Anyways,
yeah, getting a second-hand machine is one of the cheapest ways to get into it if you've got more time than money.
absolutely. And when I started off, I had absolutely more time than money. And then it's slowly. I mean, I always say like time is the only like resource we should worry about because it's the only thing that you can never get more of. Like I can go to 7-Eleven tomorrow and get money if I need to. Like I could, they'll if I serve hot dogs there, they'll give me money in exchange, but no one will give me time. So it's like that
Yeah,
is the most valuable resource.
no, 100%. That is
But
the yeah,
if you within reason, if you don't have any money, you can't just go out and
yeah.
buy a big fancy machine and be like, okay, what am I going to do now? So
No, that's exactly it. Like I'm now looking to leverage the time that I'm asleep with the LK, but that comes with a whole lot of its own issues.
oh yeah, I think we're in the same boat there because that's why I bought the Sile is I bought an X5 just about a month or two ago for the exact same reason, so I could
Yeah.
finish the day and then run parts into the evening or run parts early in the morning or while I'm asleep so that I can
Yeah.
once again leverage more time.
No, that's exactly it. Like I've got a job. I'm waiting for them. I'm waiting for them to pay before I order material because I've learned this lesson many times, and I'm not going to be forced to learn it again. But it's not like a huge amount of material, and if I order it tomorrow, I can have it this week and have the order out by like early next week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of walk away time on the LK. So I'm like, I've got 1 or 2 pieces of from the previous run of these parts. It's now the 3rd batch I'm doing. So I'm like super tempted to just order material tomorrow and say YOLO and just start machining it before I've actually got the money. I mean, I've got a purchase order. Like I've got all the paperwork. It's just I don't like really doing stuff until there's actually money in my account because I don't trust bigger companies like those guys especially. Right. They spent was about $50,000 on batteries, on drone batteries.
Oh wow!
And they didn't fit the craft, so they sat
Uh-oh.
discharged on their shelf until they threw them away.
Oh,
Like the most ridiculous setup. They are the biggest operator in South Africa. If you take their revenue or you take everyone else's revenue, add it all together, times it by like 4 or 5, you then starting to approach their revenue per year.
Wow.
They are massive, but
That's
run
significant.
by total bunch of clowns. So like I do little landing legs for them. So I'll run 100 of them in the next week or so. But yeah, like I want walkaway time because the machine could be running right now. It's got an hour-long cycle where it slits off the parts and they just fall into the chip tray and I pick them up later. So like, I want to get that running, but I'm trying to balance being a responsible adult and wanting to run a machine.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's I mean, the whole premise of this podcast is like you do everything. Like you run the machines, you design the parts, you sweep the floors, you pack the parts, you deliver them. Like there's a lot going on. I mean,
Yeah.
me and you are in a little bit different veins because I'm 100% like product, whereas
Yes.
your product and
Yeah,
well,
I'm
I
a
would
bit of
just
a mix.
like kind of job shoppy, production job shoppy, if that's fair to say.
So, yeah, I'm trying to move more towards production. My goal for this year is to turn work away. So
Okay.
we want to be doing production stuff, recurring production. That's where the money's at. That's where we can put the time and effort in once and reap the benefits going forward. We manufacture for a local company that does a diesel sensor. We manufacture that whole assembly now. I've got to take
Okay.
there's one last components that we could manufacture. I'm waiting for testing to be done that I can go and take that work as well. Because then it's 250 of everything every month, all the components. And then we're bringing online doing their sensor housings for them. Should be the end of Q1. They said that their R&D will be done, and then they'll need housings from us. But again, it's like a $6 or $7 part. It's not an expensive part, but it's an automatable part. So like we make our shop rate running it. We run it super quick on the LK, but we need to run a good couple hundred to make it worthwhile every month. But that's going to be stuff that gets set up with tool holders. Yeah, the tool holders get color coded with a different tool tag. They go in and out of the machine for the job. They go in for the job, out onto the shelf. They don't get used for anything else. That when they go back in the machine, I know everything is as it was when I stopped last time. That I'm not stealing it. Yeah, I'm not stealing end mill for some other job, putting a chip in it, and then scrapping a bunch of parts. Because I want that to run unattended. Like that is the goal.
Absolutely. Oh, and
at least
especially if you can.
one.
Yeah, and if the profit on a job can justify just having those tool holders sit for that job, that's ideal. Because then you just have a little tray and you're good to go.
That's it. I've got some stuff now that they stay set up. I've got a boring head, a reamer, 2 drills. They've got green tool tags. They go on the shelf. Those are for that job only. When that job comes around, I put it in. We do 60, maybe 100 parts a year of case gauges, and those. When it comes in, I load the tools, I load the program. The part used to take 3 hours. My neighbor was actually here the other day, and I was running the 100-hole case gauges. So we're putting 100 high-precision holes in a block of aluminium. And I was like, this used to take me 3 hours. It now takes me 35 minutes. I run op 1 on one side, op 2 on the other side, and the 2 vases, 35 minutes parts out of the machine. He's like, how the hell did you manage that? I'm like, $40,000 on this machine.
Yeah, drill tap.
That's how I did it.
Exactly.
I bought a machine
to literally do that.
Yeah, it's built to poke holes, and the things are making them faster and better quality than we were on the Slowio. Like some of the stuff I was going through my Instagram feed or the archive in December, and some of the stuff I did on that machine blows my mind. I'm like, how did I do this on this wet noodle of a machine? But you learn to do it there, and when you go to a proper machine, it makes life really easy.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's what I'm going through right now is doing all the like I do a lot of thread milling, so like 256 thread milling on my little hobby machine, which is like the tools are tiny, and like if you mess a chip load up by just a little bit, they blow up, and like so learning how to play with it nicely on that noodle of a machine, now going up to the big machine, it's like, oh, this job that used to take 8 minutes now takes 17 seconds. It's like that's insane.
I've actually got a job. I picked the material up today. It's a recurring job we do. It's a little aluminium part with a hole drilled in it and then tapped M10. So instead of tapping it in the lathe, because Bertha, I cheaped out on the spindle motor, so rigid tapping's not really a thing on there. So I drill them, counterbore them, then I literally stand at the LK, open the door, put a barrier between me and the workpiece, because I put it in the vase, tighten it, hit go, and 4 seconds later I need to take it out. Because it comes in at 2,000 RPM and rigid taps M10. Done. Like it's absurd. It takes me longer to take the part in and out than it does to tap it, and I've got to do 200 of those. So I'm going to run them and then just put a podcast, stand there for an hour, and quickly load and go. But
no doubt. No. Did we lose Jamie? Jamie, are you there? We have a bunch of dead air. I don't know if Jamie's also singing. Hello. Into the void he is gone. Oh, now I'm 100% by myself. Okay. Well, thank you all for listening this far. Hopefully Jamie will come back. Oh, now he says he's offline. Okay, well, I'll just continue talking about my world. So I bought the big Hardinge, and then slowly converted that thing over, put servos on it. It's an old machine. It's older than me. I think it was built in the 70s or late 70s, but it was an oil machine, so it pumped oil. And thankfully, I bought it off the guy who bought it off the original owner. So the machine was in great condition, and being an oil machine, like instead of running a water-based coolant, it runs just neat oil, which is just straight like engine oil, if you want to think of it that way. So the machine is constantly coated in oil, which really helps, keep the thing running a long time. Hey, Jamie, you're back.
Yeah, hopefully we didn't lose any audio. My PC just blue screened of death.
Okay, I just kind of started rambling about the lathe that I bought, and
no, nice.
I sung for a little bit. I think we're good. Okay. So yeah, anyways, I was just saying I bought that lathe. It was an old lathe, but I mean, as an oil-based machine, that's kind of where you get lucky. Is they really never wear out. I ended up getting all the like stock service manuals with it, and when I went to test it through all of its like what this, the lash in this and what the play in this should be, everything was like textbook still. So it's like for a 50-year-old machine, it still holds like. Can easily hold 10th tolerance, which is insane. So yeah, huge fan of that machine.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. Yeah, I was saying before I got cut off there by the computer. Our next thing is going to be a lathe because the bar loader doesn't like being a bar loader. So I try to convince her that we need a new lathe, and she's like, "Oh, it can just run a whole bar, and I don't have to sit there, and then we can just QC." She's like, "Yeah, no, buy a lathe, it's fine." But yeah, lathe. Specific lathe was like $40,000 to buy it new. They're not a cheap endeavor, but that is one of the cornerstones of the business. So I've actually got a seller lined up, or buyer lined up for Big Bertha when I'm ready to sell. That I get rid of it for like $5,000, be gone, not my problem anymore. And yeah, for the price, it works really well.
Exactly.
You lucked out on your lathe. Oh, I was
so lucky.
Even the MCO. The MCO is a 35-year-old lathe. When I got it, I didn't strip the slides. Everything was still tight. I put new motors on it and I run, and it holds. I will set up and I'll measure the first part of the day, the last part of the day, and I can't discern any difference. That's
awesome.
Okay, I am just cutting brass and PTFE, so it is running on easy mode. But I mean, we run a 316 job on there, and we have an insert chip every now and again, compensate for that, and carry on. Like we run the chipped insert because if the surface finish is good, we don't really care. It's a cosmetic part, and the guy doesn't pay me enough to use lots of inserts. He doesn't pay nearly enough. But yeah,
So I mean that was the big cornerstone of my world is getting that machine, and then like I said, just recently getting the big drill tap center here has helped a ton too. It's just it's equipment can help significantly. It just comes with a significant price tag, but I mean,
comes with a significant commitment is the word. We were discussing that today. I was at one of my customers, and I was saying November we had a bit of a wobbly with cash flow, and up until now it's always been fine. I've made enough money that we struggle a little bit, but we'll be fine. And now our commitments over the last year have gone up because new machine and whatnot. So now we need to look at the finances properly, and we're now switching out to profit first to try and address that. Because if you've got a problem and you don't address it, you're not long for this world.
No doubt. I was actually looking at that, listening to, I think it was AJ's podcast, and I was like, profit first. I'm like, interest. Because same thing. I just like, my world is so, I have the luxury that I basically whatever I produce I can sell, but still at the end of the day it's like it's not straight cash that's ever my problem. It's always just cash flow. It's like, okay, I just bought 2 months worth of everything. It's like, I have to sell to cover that. And
so I was at a customer today. They are a press shop, and they used to do a lot of like CNC turning work. They had 2 CNC lathes there, a lot of tool and die work for other people. And it was owned by the guy I regularly deal with. It was owned by him, his brother, and his dad. And then his father sold out shares to a family friend who used to run Robor in South Africa, a huge steel factory. They got liquidated and whatnot a few years ago. And he came in as one of the as the director now. And he's like, no. Turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense, because chasing turnover, big number, doesn't mean you're making money. Like, he came in, they wrote everything they do on a whiteboard, and we're like, okay, cool. What are we actually making on this job? Oh, wait, we're losing money doing CNC turning work. Get rid of it. They were doing it as they ended up doing it as a favor to another customer. They outsource it now. It's not their problem, because it was turnover. They were doing $10,000 a month of turning work, but of that, their profit margin was so slim that you stuff up one part and that's it. You make no money. So they've now narrowed down. But you look at their profit margin, like their turnover is way lower than it used to be, but their profit is like way up. So they're focusing on their core competency. They're a press shop, so do pressing work. Like, I'm actually I've got their parts here that I need to design a press tool for. So we've got to it starts off as a flat plate and then gets domed in a fly press. I probably shouldn't show that, but I assume they're not going to watch the podcast. They might listen.
Probably not. If someone can reverse engineer from that, I want to meet them.
No, the problem with these things is it's a race to the bottom. Like, very much a race to the bottom.
Right.
The guys will go, everyone's running 0.8 material. We'll run 0.7 millimeter material, and then undercut by like 20 cents on a part and get the work. It's ridiculous. But they do.
That's the world.
Yeah, that is the world.
That's the world. I want to stay. I want to stay as far away from that world as possible. Like, that terrifies me. Race to the bottom is scary.
Yeah. So I've got things that today I turned down work. So in August last year, I did a tool and die turning job. I didn't enjoy it. Pretty much lost years of my life to stress, because everything comes in only enough material, no tolerances. So I'm trying to hit exact size on Bertha running tool steel. It was not a pleasant experience. And my customer, he was making the whole set of tooling, and his customer said, nope, we don't accept this. This is now like 6 months later. No, make us a new set on your own dime. So he phoned me on Friday. I'm like, I'll come see you on Monday. I went there. I'm like, listen, I'm not actually interested in turning these parts. I'm not interested in doing it. Take it somewhere else. Here's what I charged you last time. Go see if you can get a price similar, but I'm not willing to do it. He was a bit upset with me, but sorry, not worth it. It's not what we do. We specialize in small components. I like doing things on the lathe that I can hit everything in one operation. Then guess what? It's concentric, because there's no reclamping, none of that bullshit going on. It's just, it comes off, it's right enough. Like, a lot of the stuff we do is 4 or 5 thou tolerance.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you can design it in like that, makes it so much, like you were saying, that's where you can just run it off the machine, because pretty much any kind of reliable machine is going to easily hit that tolerance.
Yeah, especially running aluminium. Like, that's really So we still check all the threads on the diesel sensors we make. I think we must be up to like 3 or 4,000 of them that we've made. Every single one of them gets screwed into a mating thread, because it's a M25 and then an M30. Both 1.5 pitch. Whoever designed these things should be taken out back. But I thread the one, I thread the other. It's the same tool, same like setup. So if the one's good, the other one's good. At least that's the theory. Yeah. So every one of them gets screwed into a flange, unscrewed, put in the rack, so that I know the threads are always good in case the machine hits a wobble, because it's got an encoder that I made out of a piece of G10 and 2 optical interrupts. And works shockingly reliably now, but everything gets gauged. We've got a gauge for every part to check the pitch. We've got a gauge for 1 in every 5 parts, goes in there just to check the size, like the overall. Let me just stop hitting my microphone. The overall diameter of the thread, and then we've got the master that I use for setup, because these people can't give me a drawing, can't give me a tolerance, so I'm working off of samples they've given me, which is less than ideal, but that's fine. I also own all their drawings. Yeah. They gave me parts and I made drawings, so they don't own drawings for any of their components. Like, I kind of have them by the nuts, but it is what it is.
I was gonna say, yeah, job security there, but
Well, I had a meeting with them. They called me and they're like, can we discuss price? Sure. Go in. They've got a spreadsheet with my two competitors' prices there, one of which is China and one of which is Ukraine. I was cheaper on 3 out of 5 items. And the ones that I was more expensive, it was like a couple percent. So I said, guys, the price is staying what it is. I haven't put it up in a year. So be happy, firstly. Secondly, my value add is not being the cheapest. It's being pick up the phone. Hey, we short parts. I get in my vehicle and I drive there. That is the value add.
sure, yeah.
And fixing their stupid engineering is the value add.
Mm-hmm.
I found one of the original parts. I was cleaning under a workbench and I found one of the original parts. It was so badly designed. Like, so the aluminium tube we buy, it's meant to be 15.88 millimeters. So 625,000, 650,000, something like that. I need to finish my imperializer so I can just type this in. I got a batch in. It was just over.
I'm Canadian. We can just go millimeters.
No, yeah, but I feel bad for the audience.
We'll make everybody else angry. Yeah.
Yes, we're working in the real units.
In proper
so yeah,
units,
came in. So my parts, I opened up the tolerance to 16 millimeters. So I've got a 16 mil bar that needs to go in. That is my tolerance. It's comma 1 2 bigger. Should be like a loose fit. It's nearly 5,000 clearance. It should be an easy fit. Extruded tube came in. A batch came in November. I looked at it on the truck. I'm like, this doesn't look right. Grabbed the vernier, measured it. No, it is 16.1. I'm like, take your shit and go.
Mm-hmm. I can still hear you, so I don't know. Keep chatting away. Oh no! Now we've lost Jamie again. Well, back to Curt stories. So we've talked enough about the lathe. The lathe, the big lathe that I bought, the Hardinge lathe, and the little mill got me through a long time. Like I was working full time in this business, slinging pens with just those two machines. It was like a lot of work. I put like you spend a lot more time and effort to make those machines work, but it totally works. Like and I made that work for a long time, and both those machines generated me enough money to consider buying a big machine, and that's when I bought the Sile X5, and that has significantly changed things because now I'm no longer, just burning time on a machine that was never designed to run production. The little mill was never designed to run production, and I've been forcing it to do production for a good year now. So it's nice to have a more dependable machine to do that. More so just the fact that if my little mill were ever to go down, I lean on it so hard now for so many aspects of my business that it would be crippling. Yay, Jamie's back. I rambled more about machines.
Sorry, I've unplugged the webcam. I think it's causing problems, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I get to look at a nice, pretty orange and blue dot now. So
there we go. Sorry, you were saying?
I was just rambling about how having a bigger machine now, like using my small machine, my little hobby mill, and the lathe, I ran that as my business for about a year, and that generated me enough income to basically afford to buy a better machine like this X5 behind me, which is nice, not only for the fact that you get better surface finishes, parts come out faster, everything, but the fact that if my little mill were to explode, like I would be hosed. Like I would have to put in so much work to get another machine functioning like that. It's just nice to have a dependable machine when I literally depend on it for my livelihood. So yeah, that's a lovely change. Part of the reason I went with the new machine as well.
Yeah, I got lucky with the LK. It was a 2019, so it's not super old.
That's decent.
But that's why I've kept the Slowio around. It's more valuable as a backup spindle than as money in the bank account.
100%. Like I will never sell this little machine because it's a backup, and I'll never get what I have into it. Like I would rather just look at it and remember than have sell it for whatever $2,000-3,000. Like it's just, I don't need the money for that. Like I'd rather be here.
No, exactly. Like I've considered selling the Slowio, but I would rather have it as a spare spindle for now. Maybe when I get another spindle, that conversation changes. But yeah, we'll see then what actually happens. But yeah,
no, totally.
I can't remember what I was talking about when I got cut off. This is going to be a very interesting podcast.
I know it was those tubes that were undersized, and
Oh,
I
yes,
think
yes. Okay, yeah. So they came in December. We were meant to deliver. It was about $1,200 order that we're meant to deliver. We could only deliver like $600 worth of parts because the tubes didn't go together because they were oversized. And on the invoice, there was a note saying, make sure the tube is the right size. And I looked at the invoice. I was reversing out the driver. I'm like, okay, it's what it is. Offload quickly. I got to be somewhere. And yeah, I came to assemble the day after the supplier closed for the year, only to discover that, hey, the stuff doesn't go together. So then the stuff came in this last week. Had the order, had a note on it, and I checked every single batch of tubes. Comes in at 15.1 millimeters. It's meant to be 15.88. Like, what the hell? But yeah, that's just, apparently it's within the tolerance from Hulaman. So now we check to make sure we're not oversized. If it's undersized, it doesn't matter because we changed the design to accommodate for it. We're now crimping the parts together instead of pop rivets. So the part isn't loose. They used to come loose with the pop rivets. So yeah, hopefully, well, we're going to assemble this week still. Like tomorrow, Danica's machining 150 parts, and then we'll assemble those later in the week and go get them off to the customer.
Yeah, see, that's the one aspect of this whole machining world that's just unknown to me because like I've always been a pure like I mean, I dabbled a little bit with job shopping like before I kind of had any like I wanted to do some like custom work for people, and quickly realized that didn't appeal, that didn't interest me. But so like my world is like I don't encounter that problem because it's just I buy my material like oversized significantly and just machine it down. So it's kind of interesting hearing other people's stories being like, oh, I could see that being quite stressful.
Yeah, no, it's buying material for jobs is a bit stressful. I got that camera job I did. I ordered a spare piece. I needed the spare piece. I made a mistake in Fusion when I was setting the job up, and when I flipped the part, it didn't align. Luckily, it was just the one part, so I could remake it. But I've got such a pile of offcuts of material, or drops, or spare pieces, because I always make sure I order 1 or 2 spares, that if something happens, I'm not now waiting another week for material so that I can finish the job.
Right.
Totally. Running job shop is an interesting one. We were chatting today. I was chatting with my one customer, and I was saying, no, I ran off all my material for one of the components I make. It was a whole like $20 worth of material. So I just ran it in December because the machine didn't have anything to do. And that sits on the shelf now. And when they place an order, I just count out parts. I don't have to produce, which is
right.
Yeah, which is a nice change.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's running production is a different beast. I was listening to Within Tolerance today, and they were discussing the Habili and the coolant management that goes into it to be able to run lights out for long periods of time.
Yeah.
It's not.
I know it's.
Yeah.
People always assume like robots and problem solved. It's like, no, there are so many little intricate issues. Like, you know, like even just running a machine, like just like, you know, your mill or my mill, running it lights out for, you know, a few hours in the night. It's crazy. The things that be like, okay, like if a tool breaks, you have to be able to detect it. If it's, you know, if chips build up everywhere, you have to be able to flush those out. Like there's just 1,000 things that you have to think about because robots do exactly what you tell them to do, even if it's wrong.
That's exactly it. Like I'm looking at automating some stuff, and it becomes a serious thing. Like now I'm looking, okay, I need a probe because I need to know the material's there. Otherwise, I'm assuming it's there, and that's going to work well, and right up until it doesn't.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Right.
Yeah, it works well right up until it doesn't. So, like, you've got to be able to check things. So, like, now it's okay, cool. I found a cheap probe. Cheap probe is still like $400 or $500, and then I've got to have it integrated. The guy's actually meant to visit me this week from WD Hearn, the Siemens expert. So my machine's got a whole bunch of relays in the back that aren't being used. The hardware's there.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to be like, hey, friend, show me how to make these M codes, please. The hardware's there. It's just a software thing. Sort this out. I want to use all of those functions because I have very, very stupid plans afoot. I want to basically, I assume you've seen the gimbal automation, UMC automation stuff. Yes. So before they came out with that, I'd come up with a similar plan for inside the LK because I've got a lot of spare space on the side. So my thought is to build a Kern style tool changer that grabs material, drops it in a positioning spot, and then loads it onto the corner of the table. so that
Right,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
load up. Because I mean, I've got stuff that's got to run 500 parts a month. I'd rather the op one's like a 1 or 2 minute cycle. Let it run
Mhm.
automatically. Let it run it, throw it
100%.
in a
Yeah.
bin, and then I manually load the op twos. That's
Mhm.
my plan on that stuff, because if it means I can do it in the evening while I watch TV, like
Right.
bonus, like I don't have to stand at the machine.
Mhm.
Because as fun as it is watching the robots run, it gets old very quickly.
Just to play devil's advocate, why not just like you got a huge table? Why not just load your table?
Fixturing cost. And yeah, like I could build a plate that holds a whole bunch of them, but even then, a whole bunch of them, it's going to take what, 20, 30 minutes. Whereas I want to
I
run like,
guess.
yeah, I can probably put 30 or 40 parts on the table, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. I
And
thought you
then
could get
it's
significantly
moving.
more.
No, the parts, I need clearance around the parts for some of the stupid things I do.
Okay. Okay. That
So
makes
like the
sense.
one
Because I was
part,
like,
the one
yeah.
part's a really simple part. It's drill a hole, bore two bores, chamfer the thing, and trim the ends. And that I've got a fixture right now that holds 10 parts at a time, but
Right.
the work holding on it is not quite good enough. So I've got to rebuild that anyway. And
Okay.
that ten parts takes like 7 minutes. So you are forever loading and unloading that fixture. And
Okay.
it's
Okay. That
kind
makes
of too
sense.
big. Yeah, it's too big to put on my pallet system. Though if I did it on the pallets, I could fit one set, and then it's a minute, and I basically have to
Hmm.
stand at the machine then. So like they're not complicated parts; they just there's a lot of them. They're
Yeah.
talking like 2,000 assemblies a month, which means that would be 8,000 components.
Yeah.
The
That's a lot.
problem there
That's a lot.
becomes the lathe. Like the lathe is the cycle is long. It's a little ball thing that I machine, and that takes a good 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm gonna have to figure something else out to make that happen faster. Like the milling stuff is quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with lathes. Is lathe cycles are always super short, so you're kind of just limited by your
Yeah,
how long you can bar feed. If you can feed a 12-foot bar, great. But if you can't,
yeah.
then it's like,
No,
oh,
that's the big issue. Like now I bar feed a 1 meter bar if I'm pulling it with a bar puller. If I'm pushing it, it's 750 on Bertha and 500
Mhm.
mils on the MCO. But like
Right,
500 mils, I run for 90 minutes on the one component. The part
right.
the part is 3.7 it's 3 millimeters long. The parting tool is 2 millimeters, so it's literally 5.5 mils of material per part. So I run off about
Mm.
90 of them in a row and do something else while it does that.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's
that,
kind of
yeah,
similar to my, yeah, like my hard
yeah.
same thing. I can fit 2 feet. It technically has like a super long bar feeder. I just don't have it. But
Uh,
I can bar feed 2 feet at a time, which is
yeah,
nice for my parts. But it's still like the longest walkaway I have is like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours
yeah. But
on
then,
like my
like, so for
tiniest
me,
part.
so I could bar pull the job we're going to set up tomorrow, but instead I have Danica sit there and pull the bar forward every 3 minutes, gauge the parts because chip buildup becomes a problem because I don't
Oh,
have the
okay.
horsepower to chip break the aluminium. I'm
Oh,
actually
okay,
waiting.
okay.
I'm waiting for a guy on Instagram, a local machine tool. Uh, what is he? He's a sales technician or whatever. They've got an insert that he wants me to try that will hopefully break the chip properly,
Okay.
because that's the biggest thing. Like I'm feeding it at 2,000 RPM, and I'm
Yep.
feeding at 9 meters a minute. Not 9 meters, 900 mils a minute. So it's like a 0.45 feed per rev. Like
Okay.
as fast as the machine will basically tolerate me doing it, trying to break
Mm.
that chip. And then
Hmm.
the finish pass, I slow down a little bit. But again,
Right,
surface
right, right.
finish doesn't really matter on the part. It's going in a diesel tank.
Hmm.
And
You
then
just,
I
yeah, you just
also
want to get rid of the
learned,
chip. Yeah.
yeah. And then I learned that U drills, I've got a PEC there because I don't have high enough pressure coolant. And I
Hmm.
also learned that the bodies on U drills wear out.
Oh,
Like I
really?
had one it wouldn't perform properly. And I put a brand new one, 'cause I obviously have a spare on hand, put a brand new one in, works beautifully. Just
Huh.
the coolant holes, it was blowing coolant in the wrong place. It was rubbing, I don't know, it was being weird.
Huh.
Put a new one in,
Hmm.
problem solved. So I keep one or two of those on hand because, again, China. And they're like, I think they're
Fair, yeah.
$12 a U drill.
Oh
So
my god, that is so
yeah,
cheap.
it's ridiculous. Like I buy two of them at a time, put one in the machine, put one on the shelf. If I have a problem, I swap it out and I go. Like I'm running a
Yeah.
left-hand boring bar, and that is proving the biggest problem right now because I can't buy a
Huh.
replacement. They're not super common this side. So I'm trying to find one with a
Right.
different insert to try get better chip breaking, but I'm not really coming right. Because I'm using a left-hand 16 diameter boring bar at the top of the machine to do all my roughing.
Okay.
Because I literally don't have space on the gang bed to put another stick tool. Yeah.
Just trying to save tool space.
Yeah, basically. So it's running right at the edge of the limits of travel. And then as the machine spins up, the table moves across and it's at speed by the time that tool gets to the job. It then does its thing, does the threading, goes back, drills it, and then does some grooving and parting off. So 4 tools, and that's it. Like, that's all I can fit on the machine. I think the most I've done is 6 tools, and that was like some really, really stupid setups to make that happen. Like, I love the turret on the MCO. Everything's always set up. You just load the job and go. Like a little bit of hand editing, and I always end up doing hand editing on lathe code.
Oh, I'm with you on that. It
Someone
sucks,
was asking, I think John was asking me why I hand edit. And I'm like, no, I hand edit because I don't set the clearance plane in Fusion, because otherwise it sets it halfway to China. So I go in and I'm like, okay, this is one of the longer tools. Go back an extra 10 mils, do the tool change. Oh, it's a short tool. Go back 75 mils before you tool change. Things like that. Like just little hand edits, or on the gang lathe, the sequence in which it needs to move. So like if it's a long tool, it needs to move back in Z, then across an X. But if it's going from a short tool to a long tool, it needs to go back in Z, then over an X. And those things like, you can also cut cycle time by not doing stupid moves.
Yeah, and lathe code it's not like mill code where you're gonna have 70,000 lines of code. Like you'll have a few thousand lines of code. It's
like
pretty
max.
easy to
I think,
and reading.
I think I had one that was a few thousand lines the other day. That's the biggest piece of code I've ever run for a lathe. Most of it, if it's 200 lines, it's a lot, and that's just because I'm pecking all the time to break the chip. Like otherwise, it's usually pretty simple.
Yeah.
Like I see your flap for the USB is open on your SAL. Have you not connected it to the network yet?
I literally was looking at that last night because I'm like, I am getting sick of walking a USB stick back and forth. It's only 3 feet, but I'm like, I'm going to burn out that connector. So
it's that's how poor people do it. Have you got a NAS? So I've got an old NAS that I got given, like a 256 gig NAS that was given to me because it was too small to be useful, and that I just set up, and that works. If it ever fails, I'll move my Home Assistant Pi into the office, and then just use that as a Samba share.
Okay, yeah.
But just super, super simple to set up. It like took me a morning, not even like 30 minutes. And I was connected, and then I just dump Fusion post straight into a folder on my NAS. I've got an LK folder, I've got a Bertha folder, and I've got a Slowio folder. And it just dumps it straight there. On the controller, I go navigate my way to the folder. One thing. If you post the same file, like say you just make a tweak and you post it, don't go input and then execute, just hit execute in the program manager. If you go input then execute, it doesn't always pull the latest version.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So like when you navigate or when you go program manager, it'll still be on the same file. You just hit execute in the top and then it pulls the latest in. I've run into that once or twice before, where I like comped something and I'm like, why hasn't it adjusted? And I figured out it was just the order of button presses. Like seems like it shouldn't. Seems like it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Hopefully
me
it
and
helps.
Jamie we have the same controller on both our machines. That's why we're talking in the same, because like we have an 828D Siemens controller, so we're both identical. So we can
actually. I'd be curious to know what the part number on yours is.
So if you ever,
when you're in there next time, just have a look, because I don't know how many tools my machine can take. So I looked into it and I opened it and Googled the spec sheet for my specific controller, which is the PPU 280.3. And it can take 256 tools, 512 cutting edges assigned to said tools, and has 5 megabytes of memory.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was curious. I've run a 37 megabyte program because it just effectively drip feeds it from the NAS.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Those molds I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think the one was like 37 megabytes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering how the actual works in, because I know same thing. Mine has like 5 megs of
Yeah.
internal space, which is just ridiculous on machines nowadays. Like, what year are we living in? Besides the point.
Exactly.
I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, if I drop like a 6 meg file on a USB stick, I'm like, does it chunk it out? Like, does it chunk out like a
So it'll
X amount of
stream it
portion?
from it'll stream
Right.
it'll stream the beginning section, then it'll just load the back end in, and then when the program ends, it'll load the front end in again pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering. I'm like, if you're jumping around back and forth through the program, like doing block search, or if you're just like running crazy macros, you're bouncing. I'm like, I wonder how that
block
works.
search can be a little laggy on big files. So I run at the end of my code. I normally, if I'm running production, I'll go and add in a G599, G0, X0, Y0, and then the next line G54, just so that the machine comes to a preset, because we've got a hell of a lot of offsets. So 599 is just where I want the machine to park.
Right.
I can move that around as needed. And that way it's the same in everything as well. So doing that, I search M30 to get me to the bottom, and sometimes it takes a while to get to the bottom of the code. Like, noticeably annoyingly long.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever I think the biggest surfacing program I threw into that so far is like a meg or 2, so I could just run that directly off its internal. So I was just curious.
You're running quite small parts.
Yeah, like nothing savage yet. So
yeah, no giant multiple foot molds like I ended up doing.
No,
yeah,
no, never fit.
Those were lots of fun. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like a lot of the dumb stuff I do wouldn't fit in an X5. I still want one because they're really neat little machines. Like my machine doesn't have the servo turret. It's got it indexes pot to pot. So if you've got a tool on the opposite end of the turret, your tool change goes from like 1.6 seconds to like 7 or 8 seconds.
Oh, so it goes cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
So like now I'm setting up for production run. I will remove tools and rearrange that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then at the end of the program, I'll put a manual tool change that it'll go back to the first tool. So when I hit cycle start, the machine just goes over and starts machining.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
like
sense.
Small things like that, it cuts 6 or 7 seconds off cycle time, but when you're doing 100 parts, that starts to add up pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
It adds up really, really quickly.
Okay, I didn't know that,
Yeah, so yours is nice and quick, like adds a second. Ooh.
Yeah, it's so lovely. Like the biggest tool change is like 2 seconds from chip to chip, which is lovely.
It's insane. No, like we were chatting on Instagram and I was saying my one mate Roger comes past, and then I'll set the machine at 20% rapid, do the first part, 100% rapid, hit go and walk away, and every time he thinks it's going to crash. But it's a robot. It does exactly what you tell it to do. If it didn't crash last time, it's not going to crash.
It's still terrifying seeing like all that metal just flying at it and stopping within like you said, half a millimeter. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's even my tool break macro that I wrote. It will it rapids up 100, because like now when you're running full production after the first part, you hit 100% rapid. It's fine. Like it's not going to crash, and it'll go do the tool break detect like that. So it'll go all the way up, across at lightning speed, and then all the way down till like 2 or 3 millimeters above the tool setter, and then slowly come down. It is truly terrifying. But you've got to have confidence that you know what you're doing at some point.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Prove it out. Like you said, you prove it out once slowly, and you're like, okay, well, let's send it. Like it's fine.
Yeah, my machine goes to 1% rapid. It's really annoying. It's super flippin' slow, but 20% is too fast. Like for proving stuff out. So I'll go on the knob and I'll go 20%, speed up till it's close, back to 0, go to 1%, and then slowly approach. And I'm like checking clearances and things. Because inevitably dumb things happen where my standard setup of tooling is not what is required. Like I need an extra millimeter of reach or especially on the mold stuff especially. Although Fusion simulation's really good. Like I will basically, while something else is running, I'll simulate with a set stick out. Oh, it collides. Okay, adjust the stick outs in Fusion till it's right. Then go adjust my tool, and then you're pretty good.
I do the same. Like I said, I've modeled all my tools to the whole taper and the spindle nose, and then just exactly run simulation. If simulation passes, I'm like, I'm not worried about anything contacting.
Yes, because you've got the 4th on there, so it gets tight.
Yeah, it gets scary, especially when you see it rapiding like to the side, and you're like, I know it's going to stop like a half inch before it hits that fourth axis, but you're like,
But still,
I hope it
well,
stops.
I made a riser for my pallet because I was running between a vise and my tool setter. And that is truly
Right.
terrifying. You're machining between the two of them. You watch it, okay, it didn't touch, it's not going to touch, but it's fucking scary when you got a 40 diameter face mill coming down at your, like, next to your tool setter.
Yeah, these are all expensive little components too. So like,
well, yeah, I got lucky on that one, but still, like, yeah, I got a free Renishaw TS27R.
Right, yeah, I think I heard you mentioning that on the last
it wasn't
podcast.
working, so ultrasonic cleaner. Magical healing ultrasonic. Yeah, the guy there, I'm actually going to see if I can get him to tie it into the Siemens controller when he's here now, because I would like that to be integrated and automatic. Like, I don't actually want to be doing it manually. So if I can have him tied in, then bonus. Because as far as I know, well, not as far as I know all the Renishaw macros are on my machine. I just have no documentation for it, so I don't actually know what's what.
Yeah.
Like, they've got all the stupid names like L whatever. I don't know what that means. Because also, have you messed around with subroutines on your machine yet?
Oh yeah. That's
it's
how I'm doing
so
all
great.
This serial engraving. Oh, they're fantastic. They're so good.
You just like mine. Tool break detectors TBD. You put TBD and it executes that piece of code. It's flipping sweet. Like, I thought it would be more complicated than that.
Yeah, I know. I was same thing. I was messing around with chat, trying to figure out how to run macros, and then I was like, you know what? I think it's just plain simple subroutines will work or subprograms will work for 90% of what I have to do. And yeah, it's if I'm not passing any variables, subroutines or like subprograms, just so convenient.
Yeah, no, it works brilliant. Like, that's probably how I'm going to load parts into the machine when I get my spindle gripper sorted. Because I built a spindle gripper, and then my through spindle air isn't working currently. And LK can't give me an exploded diagram of that specific unit. So my mate's got my boroscope, so he's going to come visit me this week, and I'm going to shove a boroscope into the spindle head because I physically can't get my hands or my fingers or my face in there to see what's going on. So boroscope. Then once I understand where the problem is, I can address it.
Interesting.
But yeah, I've got a plan to not use the through taper purge. And actually have just effectively a coupling that I drive over to a position, drop in, index 60 degrees, come out, and I've got the gripper attached. Go back, drop in, index 60 degrees, and go park the tool. And then I can run a hose because the gripper stays behind.
Kind of like the gimbal guys do for the guys that don't have like through coolant or through air.
Well, no, they've got a bypass coupling that they use. I don't really want to get into building one of those.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I've got other stupid plans involved. I'll make it that I can just drop it, take it on and off the machine easily as well. So one of the things that you're responsible for is me making a double pallet at some point for slightly bigger work. And then I will put the gripper on that so I can just drop it in and I know exactly where it is every time.
Oh, that'd be sick, yeah. Yeah, I like that method.
So
machine to
everything's here now. I need to actually just get my head out of my ass and put together those pallet systems so that I can send them overseas.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that works. I think it'd be a cool item. I think there's a little gap in the market for that kind of stuff. So
I think there's a severe gap in the market for that, especially at the price point that we're trying to aim at. I think there's nothing even remotely close.
No. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, if it works out, sign me up for a gang of them because that's
it. I'm looking. We're discussing how to ensure accuracy over 4 of them, because now it's tolerance stack ups. It's designed to be individual units. So now if we put 4 of them on a base, we potentially have tolerance stack ups. But I have a plan. My plan is to make a plate with pull studs facing up that I drop it on and I deck the back of the assembly. So then, in theory, we are true. We're true. Yeah, theory. We will see in practice. Yeah, because you could potentially end up with a bit of misalignment between 4 of them. But yeah, I'm looking at how to make it a bit bigger and more rigid, because it's only got 700 pounds of downforce. It's not the most rigid thing in the world. But if all you're doing is facing something and putting a chamfer, it works perfectly.
Right.
Like I wouldn't use it as I don't use it as my roughing devices. I use it as easy way and cheap way to fixture something for an Op 2, because a pallet is $5 a material and a pull stud is $2. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. It's not $20-$30 per pallet. Like, it adds up very quickly. I looked at Pearson stuff when I was planning a job, and it was going to end up being like $100,000 to buy 5 systems with pallets. And I'm like, at that price, I'm going to rather, like, at that point, maybe roll my own if I have time. But yeah, I assume you get what you pay for with this stuff. But
I have to assume,
the like my system is not designed to compete directly with them. Like, it's meant to be a cheaper solution for guys who want to do, I don't know. It's more for the hobby guys, I think, than the industrial guys or the light industrial. I mean, I've run thousands of parts across the one pallet because I use it every time I run production, and it repeats well enough for what I need it to do. Like, the only way you're going to pick up wear is if the bores wear out in your pallet. And in that case, put a drill bush, and then look, it doesn't wear out anymore.
Yeah,
like, it's not a complicated fix.
Well, and that's what appealing to me about your system is I was like, okay, the pallets are like significant. Like, there's not a huge barrier to like just having a gang of pallets floating.
Well,
around.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I've got like 13 or 14 on the shelf, and then I've got another 10 pieces of material sitting waiting for the 5 for the samples that are going out, and then 5 spare for me for other stuff, because the pull stud's the most expensive part of it. The pull stud costs me more. If I buy locally, it costs me more than it costs for the material, and I just haven't had the cash flow to order like 100 of them from China, because it doesn't need to be. The other thing is, it doesn't need to be a good quality pull stud. It's only pulling down with 300 kgs or 700 pounds. It's not in a machine with 1,000 pounds of upforce on it while getting smacked with a cutter. Like, it can be a cheap one. It's not going to fail. Like, that is not going to be your point of failure.
Yeah.
And so like, all the springs are here now. I need to make the grinding fixture and actually grind the contact pads. Although I'm not entirely sure I want to keep going with tool steel on those. I don't know how necessary it is. Because it does add a significant cost to heat treat those. So I mean, my one that's in the machine is just 303 stainless. And at the price point, I'm kind of thinking it doesn't need to be a hardened steel wear plate. You've got a piece of aluminium rubbing against it.
I was going to say, your interfacing piece is aluminum. So
the only reason I want it hardened is if you miss while putting the thing in, you don't want to put a ding on it with the pull stud.
Yeah, sure.
But guess what? That thing's going to transfer to your aluminium, and then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the ones that are going out, the samples that are going out are going to be hardened tool steel, and we'll see how they work. Well, four of this batch will be hardened, and 1 will be stainless, and we'll send them out and see how they go. But I mean, it shouldn't make a difference. They're all going to be ground, so they'll look pretty now because I've got a surface grinder. I was actually busy finished. So the surface grinders, I traded. These guys needed a retrofit on like old Bridgeport. So instead of paying me a deposit, they paid me 2 surface grinders. And then I invoiced them the balance of it today. I was on site this morning finishing up that retrofit.
Nice.
Like, on site for 2 days, machine's done. I'm like, put a vise, connect it to power. Let me know when you're ready to actually use it, and I'll come give you your day's training. So like, I do the retrofits, and then they get a day's training as well. That's
nice. That's convenient.
And nice and cheap as well. Flip. When I look at what things in the US cost, it's hilarious.
I know, that's a cool thing. I think it was episode 2, whatever, you're kind of getting bit into your backstory and kind of the way the economic world works there. And it's just like, what? It just blew me away. I was like, okay, that's why we're in different worlds.
Yeah, no, it is something special. Like, that whole retrofit ended up running them $1,500.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, that's nuts.
They've got a machine running. Like, they actually have a Doosan Lynx lathe that came in that I think rats got into the wiring on it. So they're busy trying to fix that. Like, these oaks buy secondhand machinery and basically will restore it and sell it on. That's it. They're actually the guys that I bought the MCO from.
Oh, okay.
So they've been meaning to come visit me for a while to come see the MCO, because it was on their shop floor for like 2 years. That no one wanted it. I saw it. I'm like, this will be mine. If anyone looks at it funny, you phone me. I come fetch it. Like, this will be my machine. Because small machines in South Africa are not a thing. Like,
Oh, really? Okay.
you don't find small machines because a lot of the industry here is mining. So the guys
Yeah.
will buy the 1 meter long beds because they can do
Yeah.
big mine work on it. So you don't find small machines. I spent
That-
years looking for a secondhand brother or robo drill or something like that. Nothing on the secondhand market.
Yeah, that's kind of the same with our world here. A lot of it is big, like heavy oil, big valves and stuff like that. So same thing.
Yeah.
People are always like, oh, what, for the price of your X5, you could have got a brother. It's like, yeah, but like I have to buy it from the States, and then I have to bring it across the border, and that has a whole host of issues, and like transport costs are significant at that. Like, yeah, it ends up being a wash, and like everything local here. Like, I think I came across a what was it? Not a Haas, not one of their mini mills, but like one of their tool room mills.
Oh, the TM
And it's still, and it still went from like 70% of what new was, and for a clapped out machine, I'm like, no, like I don't. And they're doing that because they can, like anybody in the garage is looking at it and they know they can get it for it. But it's just like, no.
But South Africa's even worse with that stuff. South Africa, you'll buy something, you'll run it into the ground, and then ask more for it because you've used it and you've looked after it. Like the secondhand market here is insane. Like cars. Now, the US guys will pick up a car for like $1,000. Here, good luck. $5,000 if you want something that actually runs. Secondhand, like 10, 15 years old. Like it's ridiculous. The resale, like the secondhand market here. But even machines. Like I picked up Connie for, so all my secondhand machines I've picked up for $1,000 or less.
Wow.
So Bertha was $1,000 if I wanted the collet chuck. And then my friend who works at WN just threw a whole bunch of random stuff in the machine as I was walking around the workshop, seeing what he could throw in the machine. And I can sell it for scrap or use it or whatever. Because like we went to high school together. It was, I got a whole bunch of random cuck with that machine. And then Connie I paid $1,000 for. That I ended up selling for just over $5,000 after I'd retrofitted it. And
right.
Yeah, like, but that is not, like last year I ended up doing 3 retrofits. It's not really my core business, but it's easy money. In the grand scheme of things, it's easy money. I can charge a fair amount for it. If business gets a bit slow, I start looking for retrofits. Because I do all the prep work here. I'm on site for 2 days and I'm done.
And if you like doing it, that's the thing.
I enjoy doing it, and I would rather do it to someone else's machine than to my own machines.
Fair, yeah.
Like I want to build a Swiss lathe, but I can't justify the time and effort. I can't justify buying one, and I can't justify the time and effort to build one. The MCO does the job.
There is a Citizen 3M7, like 1990s era Swiss lathe that's like 1,000 kilometers from me, and it was initially $5,000 that I found it from the guy, and that's the one I was super interested in. So I ended up talking with a few guys that run a bunch of Swiss machines, and they're like, "Nah, stay away from it with like a 10-foot pole because it had its parameters wiped, and in Swiss land, the parameters are like built into the drives." And like he's like, tell you what, he's like, I was talking with Citizen directly, like the engineers that program these drives. He's like, and I still ended up scrapping one of mine because we just couldn't get the parameters reset. I was like, oh, good to know. He's like, you can buy it. He's like, but you might just be a paperweight. And now it hasn't moved in 6 months because anybody that knows anything is like, no, that's a paperweight. Buy it. Yeah. So
no, that's the thing. It's a different conversation if they eventually flog it for like $1,000 and then you just put your own drives, but then it's all the integration stuff.
That's and there's like, and
like it's a non-standard kinematic setup. So then it's trying to figure out how to convince Linux CNC that is what you want to do.
Yeah, and like I don't have the time anymore, unfortunately, to play that.
Well, that's the thing. The time money scale is shifting.
I'd be way better off, buying a brand new Swiss lathe and making the payments and making parts. Like, that wasn't the case a few years ago, but right now, like, that would make way more sense. You
used to have more time than money, and now that is shifting. It's not necessarily inverted, but those are coming closer together. Like, you got to think about where you sink your time.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I love that. Like, I totally want to go and buy just like that and just play that same game. But it's like, no, it'll cost me thousands and thousands of dollars in just time. Thing. So
it's where your time is more valuable. Like,
Right.
I enjoy all the random stuff I do. Like I do automation for guys, but I'm trying to phase out of that now. Like I'm tying
Yeah.
up projects. Projects are now done. They're not getting done again. Like, oh, you need automation. Go find someone to do it. Like I'm not actually that interested in doing it because it ends up just eating up so much time that I could be running machines.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
this year, our shop rate has gone up. If you want me on site, my shop rate, my previous shop rate has pretty much doubled because I
Hmm.
could be at my shop actually running two machines. Instead, I'm standing looking at your stupid thing. So best you
Right.
get ready to pay for it because you are literally costing me money to be standing looking at your thing. I got a customer phone me today. Please come through to Wadeville and have a look at his plasma cut. He wants something special on his plasma, and he knows I'm the person to do it. He's been trying
Hmm.
to get me there since November. But I'm going to go look, I'm going to send him a quote, and he's probably not going to give me the work because I'm going to be too expensive.
Right. Yeah.
Because my time has a cost assigned to it now, and that is what it is. It never used to. Like, I didn't really
Yeah.
care when I didn't have to pay the bills, but bills got to get paid, so priorities have to shift.
Yeah. No, and like math doesn't lie. Like that's the one thing I did
Well,
too.
yeah,
Like crunch down like how much money does it actually cost me per day where I'm like, if I'm producing, what do I make? And if I'm not producing,
yeah,
what do I lose? And it's like, okay, all of a sudden, spending X amount of dollars for that specialty tool or whatever that's going to solve your problem. It's like, yeah, that's actually significantly less than even what I would, let's say I think it's going to take me a day to make it. It's like, okay, well
yeah.
that cost me this amount of money. It's like, wow, like
Well,
that's
that's
a
the thing.
difference.
We did the maths, and so our shop rate here is give or take $25 an hour is what we can get away
Hmm.
with charging on like generic work. On the customized stuff, it's a different situation, but generally speaking, job shop work we're looking at about $25 an hour. We have to charge out
That's,
8 hours a day at $25 an hour, so 40 hours a week at
yeah,
$25 an hour to break even. That pays for the machine, the rents, lights, all that stuff, and pays for our health insurance and all the household like thing. No food yet, no actual spending money. That's just the bare essentials.
that's
And yeah,
still,
some days we run at $200 an hour, but that's not every day
yeah, well,
and
that's
not
and that's
every
insane.
hour.
Like, I don't mean like any disrespect. That's an
Yeah,
insane shop rate. But like I said, different
yeah,
worlds.
different, like yeah, totally different economic climate here.
Yeah, like
Like now,
almost everybody
oats,
here is gonna. I'd
yeah,
say almost everybody here is gonna have to add a zero to that to
yeah,
make it
pretty
work.
much.
But
Yeah,
we're
you
living in
guys are
different
like an
worlds.
order of magnitude higher. Like I'm
Right. Yeah.
charging, if we charge now, my going rate is going to go up to like $40 an hour. If they don't like it, there's the door. End of
Right.
conversation.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not here. I'm not here to survive. I'm here to thrive. Like that's the thing. And up till now, to get work, it's been okay. Cool. What is it? What price do you need it for that we can get the work? And now it's like actually, this is the price. There's the door. Like
Right. Yeah.
I'm not racing to the bottom because racing to the bottom just hurts everyone. And
Oh yeah. No.
specialize,
Precisely.
yeah. Find your value add somewhere else is what you need to do.
Well, and if you have customers, like you said, if you're not now hurting for clients, it's easier to make those decisions and say no as opposed to
Yes.
just having to take everything that comes in the door.
Well, that's it. Like now I've got a couple customers. I'm trying not to end up with one big customer. So
Right.
I've got 3 or 4 decent customers and we're looking to grow it into the new year, but those 3 or 4 customers keep us pretty busy. And
That's good.
the one customer, the biggest one, is now talking about doubling their last year's production and starting up like 3 or 4 different additional products that we're going to be manufacturing. So it's like potentially they're going to take over 80% of the business, like of our capacity, which is very not ideal.
Hmm.
But in that case, we'll just start we'll make it so that we can take on more work, that we're not having all our eggs in one basket.
Right. I mean, that's a
Because there's,
that was
yeah,
I'd say that's a primary reason. Like even my old day job being so focused around the oil industry, it's lovely
yeah,
because it's like, but when it's booming, it's like there's more work than you can ever possibly. Like you can do more overtime than you ever want, and
yeah,
then when it's not, it's like okay, well let's paint the floor. Like it's just it's a cycle. It's happened so many times that I've been in this. Is just I'm like I got to get
yeah,
out of this. Like I got to find a different industry where it's like it's not so just feast or famine.
yeah. No, that's it. Like I've got quite diverse customers. Like we've got guys in competition shooting, we've got the guys who run the press shop, and we've got the diesel guys. And it usually is the case that one of them will get quiet and the others will pick up. So
Right.
it kind of balances out. But like now I'm looking to diversify even more. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
if the big guys decide no, they now want to double their required quantities, I buy more equipment and they take on more work that we still sitting 50-50 kind of story, that we're not
Mm-hmm.
entirely reliant on them placing consistent orders. Because if anything from the last year, I've learned they don't place consistent bloody orders. Like they say they're going to, and then you sit there and nothing comes through. So like I'm trying, like I've said to them, please don't order 1,000 parts this month and then nothing for the next 2 months. Rather
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
order 250, 250, 250, 250, because it makes my business easier to run. Because it's
Absolutely.
nice when the 1,000 order comes through, but if it's not going to be constant, then rather don't do that. Rather try and balance what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trying to get that through to the customers is also a bit tricky. But I mean, I've got like
Yeah.
6 active projects with those guys. So now they've discovered that they can phone me for R&D stuff. So like I was there and they asked me to quote on one part. I'm like, cool, this part you're buying from China, can I quote on that too? What are you paying from China? And then I just went and undercut China. I'm still
Yeah.
making
I
good
mean,
money doing it. And
that's cool.
they
That's
get,
cool.
yeah, they fast turnaround on it. That's the big thing.
Yeah, that's cool that you can compete with that.
Yeah, but that's also because shipping. Like that's why Haas machines are not a good value proposition here, because by the
Mm-hmm.
time you've put it on a ship and brought it over the ocean, it's no longer a cheap machine,
Right.
and you can get better stuff from Taiwan for less money.
Right. No, it
Like
makes
even my
sense.
LK, they don't bring the LK anymore. The price went up by 30%. There's better options on the market now
Mm-hmm.
for South Africa's market. Like I still keep asking them to give me a quote and lead time on a new one because I want another one like this because it's only a 6.5 kVA machine. And for what I do, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need more horsepower. Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I could put another 2 of these in my workshop with the current power situation.
I mean,
But
that's kind of the same way I went with mine, is because I know, like, if I had to shoehorn another one in here, like, I have
yes,
the power and the space for one. So,
yeah, I've got a sneaky plan to get basically double the power that I have. So we've got a 100 amp breaker at 220
Mhm.
volts. So I've got 22 kilowatts of service.
Right.
So
Yeah. Same
does my
here.
mother-in-law. We have 2
Oh,
services
nice. Okay.
to the property. So when I'm planning on building a new workshop in my front yard, when I do that, I'm trenching 2 cables. That when I run out
Oh,
of
nice.
power, she just doesn't pay for electricity anymore, and I just
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I pay for it, and I have 44 kilowatts of power, which
That's awesome.
sounds like a small amount, but when you're running aluminium parts, it's plenty of power.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean,
Like,
same thing. I use
yeah,
all my power on spindle ramp up and slow down, and
yeah.
otherwise, like my
Well,
cuts, my biggest tool is a 3/16 tool.
yeah,
Like,
no, like
it's
it's
hard to pull a
tiny.
lot of power out of
So
that.
my lamp in the lounge flickers not when I spin up and down my spindle, but when my z-axis retracts at full rapid. When
Oh,
it
okay.
goes
Okay.
back
I can
up,
see that.
and then my
Yeah.
lights dim.
Yeah. That's probably a few
Yeah, so it
horsepower.
pulls a hell of a lot more. Yeah, I think that's probably a 2.2 kilowatt spindle servo motor on there. Like my
Yeah. So.
lights, because obviously the spindle's decelerating at the same time that it does
Right. Yeah.
that.
Exactly. And you're
But
lifting
I mean, I
hundreds of
run,
pounds fast.
yeah. So I've got a 20 kilowatt generator that I can run the entire workshop on
Oh, cool.
because Africa, yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Since I've
another
bought
thing
it,
that
it's,
blows my mind. Watching your
yeah.
stories and being like,
It's,
"Whoa, that's crazy to have to contend with."
so we had no power yesterday morning. Yesterday morning I woke up, was sitting in bed drinking coffee, and I heard a beep. Turned my lamp on next to my bed, and the light doesn't come on. I'm like, okay, cool, no power. Walked outside, turned on the generator so I could make breakfast. 20 kilowatt generator so that I could boil the kettle and make breakfast. And it's run. So I bought it because we were having elections, and I figured the whole load shedding thing would come back. It's run for 16 hours since May last year.
Uh, Good,
Four
I
of those
guess.
hours, 4 of those hours were on Sunday.
Oh no.
Like it is stood. It runs every 2 weeks. I turn it on for 15 minutes just to make sure
Mhm.
everything's right. But that's all
Mhm.
that's all it does. No,
Yeah, that's
it
nuts.
can. I've run the shop on it for about 6 hours just to make sure everything can run, and it does
Right.
run everything pretty well. But yeah, it's a very annoying purchase. It's a $7,000 purchase that I wish I didn't have to make.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
The
get it, 'cause,
problem,
like,
yeah,
no
the
other
problem
option, but
comes when I need it. It's $1,000 in fuel to fill it up, and that will run me for just over a week. if
Ooh,
I'm running
yeah.
8-hour days. But
Yeah,
then
I mean, I guess,
if that thing's
yeah.
on, every single machine is running.
No, totally, yeah,
Because
maximize what you can.
it costs the same if everything's running or nothing's running. So everything will run. It's the joys of Africa.
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't remember the last power outage here, so that's
Living your
convenient.
best life. Yeah.
Oh
No, I
no,
mean,
totally. It's just you don't even consider it, but
we've had we had a power outage now on the weekend. Don't know why. And then we had something happen at our local substation a few months ago. That's all that's happened in the last almost year. It's been really,
wow.
really stable, and that's concerning. Now, if you want to buy a generator, now's your chance because the second-hand market is flooded. Everyone's selling them, and then
Right.
it's going to come back, and everyone's going to need to buy them again. I'm like, nope, just let it sit, pay it off, and let it
Right.
sit because
Yeah.
the business has two loans. It's that and the LK. Otherwise, it's
Right.
been
Yeah.
cash up to this point, and I'm looking forward to getting back to that point where I don't
Oh,
have
that's awesome.
a machine payment every month.
Yeah.
Because it's a heavy burden.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Going from no overhead to overhead kind of sucks.
Like it's a significant. Basically, I used to be able to make what I pay for the machine payments. If I made that every month, it was fine. Like that would cover the bills. And now it's just slowly crept up. And now it's terrifying. Like, we've got to do way, way, way more than I wish I had to do. But I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need to not be doing admin stuff during the podcast. I'm just very curious to see how much I've paid off on my machine. Oh, yay. The computer's not stupid. That's nice. Let's just delete that. Sorry. Okay, there we go. I'm back. I was just adding it into the spreadsheet because I haven't been, and I'm going to get shouted at by my wife for not doing admin stuff. But yeah, anyway. Okay, cool. So I really hope that we've got all the bits and pieces from this podcast. That the recording hasn't died. Like
I don't know. It seemed I'm still showing a full consistent recording here, so hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not. That's what's concerning me, but that's fine. It is what it is. Okay, cool. So we're going to go through our actual talking points because we should probably do that. Okay, well, I'm going to do them out of order because we've been going for, how long does it say we've been going for?
Hour 22.
Okay, so let's run through the call to actions and then we'll go through all the other stuff. So
sounds good.
Yeah, so basically just pointing at our website. So I've got, if you want to check out the frame lock utility knife that we manufacture, that's available at jspeceng.com. There will be some other exciting things on there at some point when I eventually finish making the pallet systems. But yeah, you can check that out. Or my Instagram is at jspec_engineering. And that's pretty much the only two things that I've got to push.
Mine is just Confounded Machine. You just Google it, confoundedmachine.com. I sell pens. Unfortunately, there's none available because I only sell by lottery. But if you're interested in it, you can sign up or you can hit the contact page and I send out emails when I drop stock. Or, follow me around on Instagram, same name, or YouTube. You could probably find me with the same name too, but Curt Van Filipowski on YouTube. I haven't posted anything in there for like a year, so I really got to get back onto that. I enjoy that.
If you search Confounded Machine on YouTube, you get a bunch of pen reviews, and then you scroll down, and eventually your channel comes up.
Well, that's cool.
I was looking for it earlier. Yeah, I was looking for it earlier because I wanted to see how long I'd been watching your stuff for. And I was looking like, when do I recognize videos? So yeah, it was interesting to see it's all pen reviews, and then you come up.
I'm pretty sure I did a contest way back in the day, and I think you won.
I did.
Yeah,
I
which
still
is
have
super
the
cool.
pen. Yeah, I posted a
donated
picture of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
I still actually donate to Naked Surfers right inside.
That's cool.
NSR.
Yeah,
it's
that's
the National Sea Rescue Institute.
That's cool.
Yeah, so still.
That came across and I was like, whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been following you since even before then. Like, that was COVID Like, yeah,
Yeah, that was fairly late on. Yeah, I remember your name
yeah,
from earlier too. So yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
cool.
Like getting
Small world.
getting that pen here was a whole story. We were actually
No
discussing it
kidding.
yesterday. Like I was chatting to my brother-in-law about it because I think that went via my mate in England to
Yeah.
my mother-in-law in Ireland, and then she brought it back. Like it was
I
a
know.
whole
It's
thing.
I know
Yeah,
because it was fully shut down to ship to you at that point. I mean, I
yeah,
think even shipping to you generally is more difficult, but at that point it was like no go. So I
yeah.
was like, oh,
So our
okay.
post is working again. As long as there's a tracking number, it does work. But yeah, it's a whole thing being in the arse end of Africa.
Yeah. At least you
Yeah.
get to enjoy the beautiful warm summers.
Well, warm all year round. Like
I
winter,
assume,
yeah,
yeah.
winter I still wear shorts.
That's nuts. It's minus
Yeah.
30 here today.
No, like our winter, if we drop below zero, it's a really cold day, and then by 10 o'clock in the morning, it's 20 degrees again, and you can stand in the sun and drink a cup of coffee. It's great.
I
Yeah,
could deal with
sunny
that
South
right now.
Africa. But yeah, we're just so we went to the Calabash concert last night to
I
see
saw that.
Fuck Off Police Car, The Offspring, and Green Day. And
Yeah.
I was saying, like, at no point was I worried about my phone being stolen or anything. Like, it was a really weird sensation in South Africa. Like, you're always very aware of who's around you and what's going on. But when you're in a
Mhm.
stadium with a bunch of people who've paid $50 or $60 per ticket, like, you don't really need to worry that much.
Fair, yeah, I suppose.
Like
Yeah.
when we left, actually, we were walking on over the bridge to get out, and someone snatched a cell phone and was running, and someone just like clotheslined him in the crowd.
Wow.
Yeah, the oak was trying to get away. Like, stop! He's got a phone. Boo! Clothesline. Oak over. Like, you don't try that shit in
Wow.
South Africa. Like, the crowd will murder you. Like, yeah,
Oh.
Africa's not for the faint of heart. Like,
I've heard.
Danica was laughing at me because I kept telling John, no, come visit. It's lekker. You'll feel rich. She's like, you do realize people come here, get in a car, drive to Sun City, spend the time there, get back in the car, go to the airport, and leave because the stuff we take for granted, like always locking your car doors, always being aware of who's around, like that's not normal everywhere else in the world.
Right, yeah.
Like even IMTS, we told the guys where we were staying. We were in Stony Shore, and they're like, "That's such a dodgy area." I'm like, "Really?" Someone stepped in the road. I gave them the muggers look, and they ran away. Like they were more worried I was going to rob them than anything else. Like I'm from South Africa. This is par for the course. Like,
Right, yeah.
we were standing after dinner the one night, just opposite the Bean in Chicago. We had gone for dinner. We were waiting for our Uber to pick us up, and I'm on my phone and I check out my peripheral vision. There's a crackhead there. So I turn and look, and he scampers down into the subway and throws a sandwich over my head. I'm like, does this like want to die? Like, what the hell is going on here? But that was like the weirdest interaction I had while I was in the US. Like, it really, yeah, that place is, it's pretty easy going compared to here. But,
That's cool.
I'm looking forward to IMTS 2026.
You know, I want to make the trek too, so I'm hoping I can go.
Let's
down there
make
and see some
the
of these people.
podcast popular, and then we can.
Yeah, totally.
That's my plan. No, like we're already planning for the trip because after this last trip, we figured out how expensive it is. So we are now planning from now for that.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Like looking to get an Airbnb up near Wembley Field, Ridley Field. Not in the dodgy south. And then because like the hotels are just ridiculously expensive.
I know. I looked this year. I just took a quick glance. I'm like, yeah, nope, sorry, no.
Yeah, no, we paid
Even
for
if I
our
had the time.
Airbnb. For our Airbnb for 10 days, we paid less than one night in a hotel.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, hotels go insane at that time.
Oh, yeah.
There,
No, the price triples because it's IMTS.
Yeah.
Like straight up just triples. But yeah, I spent 5 days walking around there and I still didn't see everything.
Yeah, I've heard you got to take a big swath of time.
Yeah, I spent 5 days and I'm planning on spending 5 days there in 2026. Just go see everything because Machine Tool Africa was solidly depressing.
Yeah, I know we have like the Canadian manufacturing show, and it's not like you can get through it in an afternoon. So it's not all that impressive. It's nice to go to, but like it's nothing.
I still spent 3 days at Machine Tool Africa, but that's because my mate who I went to school with was there and talking cuck with him, putting my parts on all their measuring demos, and just being a general nuisance.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's why I want to go to.
Yeah. to
I
IMTS.
say I want to go to IMTS to just see people. I mean, see the machines obviously, but then just like
Yes.
see some of these people that I just
Well,
interact with digitally.
that's my reason for going, was to go and meet everyone face to face.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, right?
Because it's the fun part. Like even Machine South Africa, I met up with all the South African guys because we all follow each other, all the machining South
That's
African
cool.
guys, and a lot of them are resellers of stuff. So I went and spoke to the guys at To Go Cam or something, and the guys from Whole Tooling Solutions who do Mighty Bart stuff locally and Filter Mist locally. Went and had a chat, and also been chatting to them for years, and went and met them in person.
That's cool. That's cool.
Again, what Toolpath did at IMTS was so brilliant.
Oh, yeah, big brain move. Like that's the best.
100%.
Yeah, because I know of them. Everybody knows of them now.
Yeah,
like
speaking of that, I was chatting to Justin from Toolpath today, and we're going to get him on at some point.
Oh, that's cool. I love talking to that guy. Yeah.
Have you looked at Pre-Tool?
I've heard about it. What podcasts I listened to, and I was like, "Ooh, I got to run my library through that. That sounds fantastic."
It is great. I ran my libraries through. Like I put off redoing my libraries for months. Turns out it only took me half an hour.
Okay, yeah, I gotta do that because I know what I can get away with on my little machine, but this bigger one, like I know I'm leaving tons on the table.
Well, that's the thing. You can put in your spindle limits. I think he said they were going to add a provision that you can set the surface speed.
Okay.
So not only RPM, but because I posted my drills through there, and I'm like, hey, is this for carbide drills? Like, yeah, it defaults to carbide. So I was like, okay, no worries. So I went through, I pulled out the book and just typed in all the values manually, which took all of 10 minutes. But he may have said something about there being a surface footage adjustment. So you can look at your tooling catalog and say, oh, it says I must run at 45 meters a minute or 100 meters a minute, and you can actually fine tune your feeds and speeds accordingly.
Yeah, that's how I program everything. I just program everything off SFM, basically, SFM and chip load.
Yeah, no, that's not hard. Well, that's not how I used to do it. It's how I do it now.
Yeah,
like I was
not how I used to do it either.
Yeah, I was having chatter issues with my 12mm finisher, and just ran the default wall finish settings from Pre-Tool. Bye chatter. Problem gone away. Yeah. My settings were, I don't know where I'd pulled them out of. Oh, I pulled them out of Feed and Speed Wizard, and they were just it wasn't good. And I ran their stuff, and it just works. But yeah, I like pushing Pre-Tool because it's a great piece of software.
Yeah, no, and guys in the community, once again, like
exactly.
I've reached out to a few of those guys, and they're just like, oh yeah, just give you information without any expectation. It's just it's so cool.
Happy to help, and that is the biggest thing. Like I said, all boats rise with the tide, and I think that is the newer generation of machinists are embracing that. The old curmudgeons aren't, but the new guys are.
Yeah, no, you can't. You're gonna die with it. Like, give it away. Yeah. Like, if you
Exactly.
have some little secret trick that you think is making you valuable, like you're doing something wrong. Like,
yeah, well, that's the way a lot of the guys here look at it. Is they think they've got it the only way it can be done. Meanwhile, everyone else has figured it out. They're just not actually looking and don't know that they're doing it the slow way, and it's hurting them in the long run.
Yeah.
Cool. So on to our next little topic thing, our second to last one. What problems did you solve this week? Well, in the last week. Let's put it that way.
Oh, my problems so on the Sile when I bought it, I had a 4th axis spec'd out for it. Came on the manufactured build list as a 4th axis, and it showed up without a 4th axis. No drive, no cables, no anything. So,
fun.
Yeah, I'm not gonna I've been working with Sile now for like a month. I'm not going to throw them under the bus. They've been super good. They sent me like a brand new Siemens drive for it and everything.
Where did you buy yours from?
It's from a Canadian reseller, basically the only Canadian reseller. Yeah, and honestly, he's been amazing. Like, I was giving him a little bit of flack off the jump because I'm like, come on, dude. And then he kind of relayed the scope of what he's having to do because Siemens was not cooperating. And I was like, okay, I appreciate the amount of effort you're putting in. So, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. This is one of the first Siemens units in Canada too, just because of Canadian safety stuff. They can only allow Siemens controls in here. So anyways, it's a bit of a runaround.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had got it from the Boombastic YouTuber, but I was wondering how it all.
I kind of wanted to avoid that. So I mean, it's nice for the American guys. You got kind of like direct support of
but that is a bit of a controversial figure.
Yeah, he's a bit polarizing, but whatever. He seems to be helping out the community.
He
in
is
the
I met him
grand
at
scheme.
IMTS. I was
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we'll discuss my feelings about him off air because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I met
fair
Barry.
enough.
Barry loved my shirt. My shirt was I like big cuts and I cannot lie. Barry
He
thought
seems like
that
a
was
cool
quite
guy.
entertaining. Oh no, Barry was
He
really
seems like
sweet. Like
Yeah, it seems
yeah,
like
no.
you could get a drink with that guy and he'd be all right.
Yeah, no, I had a long chat to him when they were announcing the Swiss Academy. I
Right.
had a long
Yeah.
chat to him during that. But yeah, so I guess you got yours from the agents. I've actually got the Siemens guys coming around. One of the things I asked them about is what the interface protocols are for fourth axis on
Oh, okay.
that, because I would assume it's not just you can only use a Siemens drive with whatever their protocol is. I would assume it supports something more than that for if you're buying an aftermarket fourth axis.
I'm wondering that too, because everything seems to be Ethernet connections. I don't know if that's just Ethercat everything, but that's so far what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm going to find out.
I
I'll let you know. Yeah, no,
let me
but
know.
I'll let you know because I've got a harmonic drive and I kind of want to use it to make a little fourth axis.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend the money on buying one, but they are the resellers for, well, my local agents. They resell a different brand that they have integrated before. So I'm going to find out what the protocols. Is it step direction? Is it only EtherCAT? Do I need to feed in encoder positions of the fourth axis? Like, what is the actual requirements?
Right. Yeah.
So I'll find that out this week, and I'll let you know when I actually know.
No, well, and I'll share whatever info I have. I have a ton of install information now, so
okay,
whatever I can help you with.
That'll be
What was
interesting to read through as well.
What was your problem that you solved?
The stinky coolants in Bertha.
The stinky coolant.
So Miss Lewinsky doesn't suck hard enough with my old vacuum cleaner. My old vacuum cleaner has sucked out pool filter sand a few times and had a bit of gravel go through the vacuum pump. So I went and bought a new vacuum, and that just it changed everything. Apparently, 23 kPa and 18 kPa are not the same. And we sucked that coolant tank out in no time. So we got that resolved. Last week I had the FlexiLube guys come past, had the rep visit and quote me and supply and give me some really nasty biocide stuff to throw in the machine.
Nice.
So we got that. Got that all sorted out. We'll see how it runs tomorrow with their fancy. It's one of their more expensive coolants apparently. It was a whopping 75. What's that?
That's still just like a soluble oil, or is
soluble oil.
Okay.
Yeah, it's their BioCool CU2. It's like $75 a 20 liter, so a 5 gallon.
Okay, yeah.
So not expensive. Nearly double what I was paying. But these guys will come out and check concentration and keep an eye on it for me as well, and just
that's cool.
Check pH and things like that to make sure the coolant lasts. And then depending on whether people actually pay or not, I want to order another 20 liter of it and change out my other two machines so that everything's running the same coolants, because
that's smart.
Standardized, But Monica did that. That was the big thing that we resolved this week, like the biggest issue. But,
nice.
And I buttoned up the index. I don't think I posted it this time. I posted it a while ago. The thing for crimping stuff in a press, so the guys don't have to put their hands in the press. So I was there today. They're going to put a piece of wire to offload the parts. So as it indexes, the parts just fall off into a bin. And if that doesn't work, we're going to add a pneumatic cylinder that when the press gets told to come down, the little secondary cylinder just flicks the part off into a bin.
So you don't lose your finger.
Unload. Yeah. Well, no, then it can be operated by one guy. So they can have one guy loading, and then I added a potentiometer so they can adjust one of the delays, because it's literally running an Arduino. Nice. So I hard-coded a bunch of delays. Then I added one of them I added to a potentiometer that when you reset or when you power up, it'll read it during the setup, and then it won't look at it again. So that it's not always changing. They set it when it boots, and they go. That they can slow it down. I'm like, just feed your guys meth and let them go. But apparently that's not ethical, because the machine runs about 50% faster than the person loading it. So they wanted to slow it down to match, because then the guys will run constantly, and if they can run it constantly, they double their throughput. Because right now the guys are manually putting the parts in a press with an idiot stick, which is a bar of aluminium with a magnet. Idiot stick. And they've had guys lose fingers on like 3 or 4 occasions.
Ugh.
The last one, the guy pitched up to work on the weekend. He was drunk.
Oh,
and
no.
that was a rough one. So like, yeah, that's the problem with having staff, is dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I like no staff.
yeah, no, that robots. They do call in
Oh.
sick, but that's fine. I can deal with that.
Oh yeah, they got their own issues, but yeah, at least
Yeah,
it's
like it's bad enough having my wife run the machine. No, no. All right, cool. And then,
nice.
yeah, what are you going to be up to today? Or, well, yeah, today it's morning
Uh,
there for you.
yeah, morning here for me. Just bunch finishing. This week is a huge finishing week for me. I need to try to finish everything by Friday because starting to dig a hole that's starting to get to be a big hole. So I want to get this
See,
finished so I
yeah.
can keep moving on.
Okay. Yeah,
And,
yeah, that's the only thing with batching out work.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's lovely because when this batch is finished, this will be the biggest batch I've ever made ever. But
okay.
it's not. It doesn't do me any good until it's done. So it's like
Yeah.
the
You're
only
sitting with a
way
whole bunch of
forward.
half-finished stuff.
Right, yeah, you're sitting on a bunch of almost stuff that you could sell. It's just like it's always a balance between trying to build in a smaller batch size or larger batch size. I don't know, I'm floating around between everything, trying to see where I find my most efficient methods.
Trying to find your groove.
Totally, yeah. I've played with
Yeah.
batch size and yeah. So, anyways, that's my world.
Okay.
What about
Oh,
you? Your
nice.
day's ending.
Yeah, my day's ending. I'm going to go sit and have dinner and watch some TV with the wife. But tomorrow
Nice.
morning we are going to be running Bertha with the new coolants. We got to knock out 130 parts. So we're going to try get it done tomorrow, because then there's a job right on that one's tail that we need to get out by like Wednesday. And then hopefully material arrives and I can start on the next job that's going into Bertha. So like Bertha's basically booked out till the end of the month. MCO is
that's
also
nice.
booked out towards end of the month. LK, I need to go finish a bunch of little press tools that I need to make for different bits and bobs I make. So I have stuff laser cut, I'll tumble it, and then I just need to put some bends into it. So I'm just making custom little press tools that I throw in the arbor press, load the part, bend. We're
Nice.
busy with a product line so I do a lot of white labeling. So I'll make
Right.
it, brand it, pack it for you, and then ship it. You just sell it.
Oh, nice.
So like another product's coming online. It's like a $1.50 thing, but it's a laser cut part. I'm going to bend them, throw them in the tumbler, slap a magnet on, and it's done. Like super easy.
sick. Yeah,
So,
that's
and
nice.
the guys, they're starting now with their first batch of like 100 parts, and then hopefully it'll just roll into more and more of them that I can stand there for half an hour, bend 100 parts, throw them in the tumbler, and that's it. That's all my input done, and I'm making really decent money on it for the amount of effort I'm putting in.
Well,
So yeah, we got a busy week ahead.
Yeah.
Like today was a site day. I ended up on site, and then I visited 3 customers today, so it was a bit of a lost day. So tomorrow morning early we get the lathe running, and then we'll crank through that.
Nice.
But sweet. I think we'll call it there.
Sounds terrific.
Sweet guys. Thanks for listening. Please give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and hopefully we'll soon be on Apple Podcasts. We're looking into getting that set up. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Adios.